Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the second ever episode of Just Ask Josh, where I, as a magician, try to divulge and answer your life questions. Let's go. Here we are, episode number 2. Thank you to everyone who wrote comments and gave support and said that you liked this content from the first one. It's really fun to get to know you all a little more and for you to get to know me a little more as well in the process. And what I thought would be fun is if we go to Q&A number 3, how about we try this? I'm going to push the limits of our friendship here. From now on, if you have a question, I encourage you, I implore you to send your question to me in video form. So email me, you can email me here, or if you want to, you can send the video to my Instagram, which would be here, and just make a short video, 30-second video, introducing yourself and then asking your question or telling me a little story so that I can give advice on it, or maybe a small performance so I can give my feedback on it. That would be so awesome, and that way the community can grow. But I'm going to kick things off with the first question, and this is from Sean Ferguson. What's up, Sean? He asks, and I love this question, I'm curious about your advice on books in regards to developing patter and routines and building and honing performance skills. I have a decent collection of books geared towards methods and effects, but I want to study the greats on the performance aspect of magic. Sean, that is a great question, and that is the right kind of question as well. Once you get your skills to a certain point, you want to know how to package it up and deliver it so that people enjoy and find it entertaining. There is a magician that I go on about a lot, and his name is Steve Cohen. If you follow my Instagram, you'll see that last year I went and saw his show live. I've also done some Zoom lessons with him one-on-one. Fantastic, fantastic performer. He brought out a book called Win the Crowd by Steve Cohen. And this book is full of knowledge and juice on performing. The tagline of this book is Unlock the Secrets of Influence, Charisma, and Showmanship. I mean, you cannot get better than that. So in this book, it has all these tips and tricks on how to upscale the performances you're doing, whether it's roving or close-up or on stage, or you're a comedian, anything like that, anything that involves craftsmanship. There are some really great tips in here. So for example, one of the tips in here, one of the lessons on how to be more bold and how to be more courageous is by, not when you're actually on stage, but something you can do in your everyday life, and it's to grab a handful of small coins. Now you take one at a time and you try to place them into people's pockets throughout the day. So it could be, you could start off with it being people in your household, and then you can move to trying to do it to your friends, and then trying to do it to random people. And the game is, or the lesson is, if you can do that, if you can be bold, because it's going to feel very nerve-wracking, and then once you learn to control that and not to be worried about trying to do that, it builds your boldness up. And you can imagine how it can help you on stage to be bold with things that aren't a surefire thing that will work. The great thing with this lesson is that if you get caught, all you're doing is trying to give people money. You're not trying to steal anything, you're not trying to do anything funny to them, you're literally giving them money. So they can't get mad at you. It will seem a little awkward, obviously, but you can explain, hey, I'm trying to be more bold, I'm doing this thing, and my teacher said to try and, drop money into people's pockets. It's super weird, but again, the payoff is amazing. You will get a rush of adrenaline like nothing else. And it's such a little way to begin being bold. Another tidbit, I could go on about this all day, but just the last thing I'll leave you with is a very quick thing anyone can do straight away is if you are walking on stage, if you're introduced and then you come out from behind a curtain, instead of standing just behind the curtain and then walking on, take 5 steps back. And when you're introduced, start walking from there so that by the time you get to the curtain, you're already walking at full speed. So people don't see you come out slowly and then speed up. They see you come out dominant, in control, boom, straight out onto the stage. Great question, Sean, and that would be my answer, is to check out Win the Crowd by Steve Cohen. All right, question number 2 comes from Hugus. That is a great name, Hugus. I hope I'm saying that correctly. He says, first of all, I enjoy this format. Thank you very much. And the question is, do you have a mentor, or did you have a mentor going into magic, or have you ever mentored anyone? So thank you for that question. Now, I always feel that, number one, yes, I've had many mentors for short periods of time fortunately, throughout my career. And I've also mentored people, and I continue to mentor people, whether it be from afar or whether it be through my content or in person. Now, there's a philosophy that I really believe in, and I see actors do this a lot, and I see artists and magicians as well. And it's that if you're doing well in your career, if you're really elevated to a certain level, then you owe it to the art form to send the elevator back down, help someone else rise back up as well. So by sharing your knowledge, it helps for the next generation and so on and so forth. And it just ensures that everyone is seeing great magic. So a couple of mentors that I have had, some have been from afar, like in this book, as I mentioned before, but some specifically would be PD Magic. He is a magician that probably the most influential, because it was so early in my life. He was hired at my 21st birthday to do magic. It was the first time I'd seen a close-up working professional perform. And when he learned that I was interested in magic, he sat me down and explained, people will pay you to do this for a living. That changed my world. Another magician is a guy named Sam Angelico. He is actually an Australian FISM award winner for comedy magic. One of the best comedic dove acts I've ever seen. Normally a dove act is serious, but he mixes serious, really skilled magic and theatrics with comedy without even speaking. It's really amazing. Look it up. His act, I believe he won in the late 1990s, and you can still find it. Sam Angelico. If I can find the video, I'll link it below. Amazing guy. Really honored to spend some short amount of time, but intense time with him. And he's still, he's still doing shows, he's still performing. Amazing guy. And in terms of me doing my own mentoring, when I can, I do try to put on my own workshops where I shed some light on beginning magic. And then some of those students actually ended up staying on and becoming a regular student and being able to teach them and watch them grow and even learn some pretty insane card stunts like this. All right, this is Sam. He's been working really hard on this move. Let's see it. Here we go. Yes. And what is the card? Boom. Good work. Having mentors is so important, or if you are at that level where you can mentor someone, do it. Okay, question number 3 comes from Justine. What's up, Justine? Thanks for supporting all of these videos, by the way. Justine asks, are there particular cards to use for beginning cardistry, or how do you begin cardistry as someone who's interested in it? Are there any finger exercises that you can do? Thank you in advance. So that's a great question. That would be a great question to see in video form, like to see you trying, to see what level you're at. So as kind of a blanket group of advice for anyone who's starting cardistry, there aren't particular sizes of cards to use. I mean, bicycle playing cards are kind of the standard that people were using for a very, very long time. You can get bridge-sized cards, which are going to be smaller, but eventually, certain moves that you'll learn or want to start learning kind of require this level of cards. And bicycle playing cards have that air cushion finish, which allows you to do certain flourishing moves where you're having to move the cards around really quickly. So I would say there aren't particular cards to use, but I think one of the things cardists pride themselves on is that they can do their moves with any deck of cards, essentially. So there is a move that really pioneered and started cardistry, and it's called the Sybil cut. And it's basically something like this. Everyone starts to learn their own kind of variation. But that was created by a gentleman named Chris Kenner, who is actually David Copperfield's manager. He created this. He is a fantastic magician, but he doesn't have to do it for a living. He makes a living from managing David Copperfield shows, but he's written a few books, does fantastic card magic and coin magic. So he started by doing this. Then the Dan and Dave Buck twins, they put out the real kind of encyclopedia of cardistry. So you want to look up Dan and Dave Buck. I'm sure you already are aware of them, but they've put out the kind of staple videos for you to start learning cardistry. I mean, the things that you want to start learning are things like how to cut a deck with a Charlier cut, and then you might start to learn the revolution cut, then you might learn the scissor cut. So these are all just simple one movements, but you got to start doing that before you start learning 3-packet cuts, 4-packet cuts, 5-packet cuts. It gets really crazy in the end, but it's so fun. So there's no real way to begin. You just want to start with small movements first and build your way up. And soon you'll be doing some crazy ninja stuff, Justine. Next question is from Peewee23, another avid watcher. Thank you so much for being here again. He asks, how do you handle hecklers, or what happens when someone catches you? Great question. Now, in the beginning, that's a nerve-wracking thing. When your repertoire is small with magic, you're really worried to get caught because then you have nowhere to go. Like if you only know how to do one thing with a coin and you get caught doing that thing, what do? So the real way to be confident with handling hecklers is to know what to do when something doesn't work well. So if you know how to make a coin vanish, you should know more than one way to make a coin vanish, if that makes sense. So that way, if someone thinks they know what the method is, you can choose another method that does the same thing, but then cancels out that you could have done it the other way. So what I mean is, if you do this and people say, like a heckler says, oh, it must be in your other hand, then the next time you do it in a way that the coin isn't here. So if they think that, they'll say it, you show them it isn't, and now that cancels out both of the times you did it that it could have been in your hand. That's a small example, but long story short, I love hecklers and I welcome it because when there's heckling, there's opportunity for miracles to happen. And when you do stuff off the back of heckles, it makes it feel more in the moment. Like when you react to a heckle and then you blow their mind by doing something that fools them because you know they're trying to heckle you. Card to mouth is a great example. If people think, now magicians might only know what I'm talking about here, but if you have someone that's burning your hands, meaning they're watching so closely, they're trying to catch what you're doing, and then you do card to mouth and they're still looking at the cards, they're gonna be extra fried because they were paying so much attention to what your hand was doing, they completely missed that the card ended up from here into your mouth. All right, next question is from TB. TB, short and sweet, I love it. He asks, what was the first trick you ever performed professionally, whether it be street magic or otherwise? Do you have a favorite? So, do I have a favorite? That's kind of two questions, but I'll nail them in two goes here. So the first effect that I was really proud to learn and start doing professionally was from a magician I saw do it, a very famous Asian magician in Asia called Cyril Takayama. And it's this effect where the effect is that you have a card signed, then they blow a kiss to the deck, the spectator, and a Hershey's Kiss, a picture appears on the back of their signed card, allowing you to find it. And then you turn the card over and you snap a real Hershey's Kiss out of the card into their hands. And then the picture is gone from the card and they can keep the chocolate. So I love this effect, and I first had the opportunity to perform it at my first ever paid gig. I got paid $100 to go to a wedding anniversary of a guy that knew me from work, and he paid me $100. I gave half of that to my friend to video me and take photos because I was already thinking of marketing and promotion material, and I got to perform this effect for them, and I think it was like the perfect moment to do it. These days, you know, Australia's very hot, chocolate melts, you know, so I only bring it out in those very special times, but that was definitely a memorable first effect I started doing. These days, when you're talking about, do I have a favorite? I love card magic, and I always love to find ways to make it not really about the cards so people can enjoy it without seeing cards and going, oh, it's another card trick. So I love any kind of things that create a miracle moment, things that, you know, couldn't happen if I'd said anything differently, it wouldn't have worked. That's being very broad, but that's the only way I can answer that, my friend. Great question. All right, next question comes from Tony Varga. What's up, Tony? He asks, what was the worst and best experience you've had while performing magic? I mean, look, this brings some interesting memories to mind. I'm just gonna stick with one of each. Now, the worst memory I've had was the worst because it was the most stressful. Not that it was a bad show, it was the most stressful. And I should make a video of this just as its own and try to reenact what happened. But long story short, I was doing my first ever like full-length stage show. I approached a charity event and said, look, I'll donate my time. I have this act. I'm a good magician, but it's just a new act I want to try out. And I decided to use an egg, a raw egg. It was going to appear in this show at some point. And the egg starts in my jacket pocket. So the egg's in my pocket, I get on stage, and the first thing that happens is I accidentally drop one of my props. And as I go to try and grab it, little do I know, my arm breaks the egg inside my pocket. That's a bad place to be at. and it breaks the egg. And so now for the rest of the show, I don't know it's happened yet. I don't know it's broken. So about 5 minutes later, I reach my hand in my pocket to grab a Sharpie, and all I feel is all this gooey, slimy yolk. And I know I've got about 30 seconds to take off this jacket before it starts seeping through and showing to everyone. So I quickly take off my jacket, and now I've taken that off, but I'm sweating bullets because I couldn't have planned for this to happen. But not only that, now I'm 10 minutes into a 40-minute show that requires my jacket for some things. So now I have to take my jacket off, and now I have to think on my feet of how to continue this show, what I can do with no jacket on now. I'm exposed. So that was definitely, I learned so much in that show from that happening. So it was both the worst and the best experience, but definitely it started by being the worst experience. And that's it, guys. Thank you for your questions. Look, like I said before, I encourage and implore you to send me your next question via video. So again, you can send it by email, by Instagram, whatever you like. Probably email is like the easiest for me to keep them all in track in one place. So whether you're watching this now and I'm up to episode 10 or whatever, send me your question that way. That way I can I know who I'm talking to. We can have a conversation now, you know. Maybe one day we'll do live questions. That would be amazing. But for now, thanks so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next Q&A. Take care, my friends. We'll see you next time.